Yes, we are live.
We are live.
Hi, perfect. Hello from the Netherlands. I'm Enigmatic Joker, Dutch Doctor Who channel, and we have our friends here from the UK, England, Queen Charlotte and Sadeku. Hello.
Hi everyone.
So how's everyone doing?
Not too bad. It's
Oh,
getting a bit cold.
Mainly cold in the UK now.
Yeah, and you're sweating here already. A month ago it was sweat, but now it's wet. And that's a band, I think. Wet. Or
Yes, it is.
is it still active or
Oh, I don't think so.
no?
They were a thing in the 90s, I think. They were kind of quite.
Yeah.
I remember they were. Lovers All Around was the one. I remember that song.
Yes, that's right. It's one of their hits. But it was an old song, Crawford, I think. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
it was already a cover from the 60s, I think.
Oh yeah. I just remember it in my school years. It was playing a lot.
The 80s.
90s, but yeah.
Or the 90s, also good.
Yes.
Just depends on when you want, when you're born. That's okay. They still tour. Oh,
Nice.
Wet.
Oh, okay. I thought, but that's good then that they still tour.
So this is we started last week. We started the series, the Companions of Doctor, and then when now we're doing the second Doctor. You can see in the avatar. We're starting with the regeneration of the first Doctor. And there were already two companions there. And that was Ben Jackson and Polly Wright. So we start with the two, that two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we sort of said they're more second Doctor companions, didn't we, last week? So
yes, that's
best
right.
to start.
And can we do the story behind Ben Jackson and Polly Wright? The first Doctor, met them on Earth.
In a disco, didn't he?
Yeah, in the disco.
Yeah.
There was also an appearance from the companion. What was she called?
Dodo.
Dodo, but she was left behind. She didn't want to travel anymore, or there was some reason. I mean, you don't know, but she was saying, "No, I don't want to travel anymore with you." And Ben and Polly slipped into TARDIS.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, was there meant to be some kind of attraction between Ben and Polly? Like, I think someone was coaxing Ben to ask Polly out or something. Was that how it started?
Because did they end up as a couple? Because I've always had them as a couple in my head.
I don't know if they ended up as a couple, but I do know there was obviously a romantic tension. I know, for instance, in the Moon Base, when Jamie falls ill with the Cyberman plague and Polly's really tending to him, Ben gets jealous. And at some point, he actually, like, like him and Jamie have dropped words, and it's like they both kind of look like they're squaring up for a fight. And, like, Ben's like, yeah, yes. Anytime, anywhere, mate, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's like, it's Jamie, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
I always thought there was some still a quiet conflict between Jamie and Ben, who was the hero.
Oh yeah.
I think I don't know if it is because of Polly that they want to prove something, or it is more. Yeah.
I think the thing is with Ben. Like I think he always thought of himself as quite a macho man. Like he thought he was that sort of, he'd go and save the girl type. He'd be very sort of dashing and the hero, but actually he wasn't like that. So when you actually had Jamie, who did have those qualities, I think it was, Sudoku's right, there was just a bit of natural jealousy.
Yeah.
Because Jamie was what Ben thought he was of himself, but he wasn't. He was a lot more. I don't like. He wasn't cowardly, but he wasn't like the one to dash off and save the day type at all. I've never seen Ben like that.
Yeah.
Jamie was from a more romantic age, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But we talk about Ben. He was a seaman.
Yep.
In a short posting in the first story Ben met Polly Wright. That was what we discussed. And he helped the Doctor defeat Wotan in the first story. And then entering the TARDIS just before they materialized. So they came after the adventure with Wotan. They traveled with the Doctor.
Yep.
And they witnessed, Ben and Polly witnessed also the Doctor's regeneration is in the last story of the Doctor. It was with the
William Hart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also-
was it the 10th planet?
That's
Yeah,
one,
10th planets with Cybermen.
the very first
Yeah.
Cyberman story.
First Cybermens. So because the Doctor was exhausted and he was running out of energy, and they witnessed the Doctor's regeneration into second incarnation, and he traveled with him. The first time that they saw this happen, didn't know what happened, but they actually were fond of the Doctor.
Oh yeah, like the first half of Power
Yeah.
is them sort of saying you're not the Doctor. It's so odd for me to see sort of that level of distrust, because obviously they've just witnessed, like you said, the regeneration, and at that point, even the Doctor doesn't really explain what's happened.
He's not making it easy for them. He's like I think Ben and Polly want to trust him, but he's not making it easy for them. Like he's even like talking about the Doctor in the third person, like he's talking about his past self as though he was a different person. So it's like,
yeah, and like whenever they ask him questions, he sits there and plays the recorder. So it's like, who's this crazy man who's not even answering our questions? It very much has that air about it. Power.
Yeah.
Scottish Derby says Ben always felt shifty to me. What is shifty?
Distrustful.
Untrustworthy.
Yeah.
Oh. No. That's that's your feeling about it. I don't know.
Probably thought that Ben was a bit of a chav or a scally, maybe.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know.
That's what I think it was, though. I think it was this. He built himself up to an image he wasn't.
Oh yes, that's right. I can think that's.
So I think sometimes that can make you not trust somebody when they've obviously got these ideas of.
Wasn't it because if I was in the army or a seaman that is the water army or
I don't think it was. I don't know if he was nailing or whether he was just a sailor. I think it was nailing.
Sailor.
I think it was just a sailor. I don't know.
Yeah, so because of that he was a sailor that he wanted to prove something, or there's more his personality. I don't know.
It tends to be a more macho kind of environment, usually.
Mm-hmm.
Either the sailor, being a sailor or being in the Navy, it's going to be it's a macho thing.
What we know of Ben is that he lost his spouses, also Polly. But there is a story in the end that they got married, but it is not on the single screen, but it's more in the audios, I think.
Yeah.
So there was already some relation.
That might be in the books more than the audio.
Yeah, more in the books. Yeah.
Because they have done a lot of audio stuff with the companions of the Second Doctor, but I don't know exactly what is audio and what's books. I know, but they have done a lot of just added stories and added sort of stuff to explain some of the gaps.
Mm-hmm. Polly.
Yeah, she's
short.
She's kind of like I said, she's the kind of one of both the guys seem to admire, isn't she? She's like Ben always calls her Duchess, and she's kind of the first to, like, in terms of the fact that the Doctor's changed. She's more trusting. She's more willing to believe this might be the Doctor. She wants to give him a chance, and it's Ben who's kind of Ben's the more cynical, distrustful one, isn't she? And I do. Sorry.
Yeah, I'd say she's a bit more of the emotional heart again, isn't she?
Do you think maybe she sees maybe something in the Doctor that suggests it's the same guy? Possibly.
I think she's a little bit more just because she's not motherly like Barbara was, but she's not naive like Susan was. But there's a bit of that just. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good word for it. It's like. I don't know if it's like she wants to see the good then. It's like trying to. She's a bit. I do agree. She's obviously in power. She's a lot less sort of antagonistic. Because I would say at points, Ben's almost quite sort of not forceful with how he really doesn't trust the Doctor.
Yeah.
And she's a bit more just sort of being quiet and trying to watch and trying to understand. That's what it is. I would say she's a bit more understanding.
Yeah.
Of the whole situation, whereas Ben's just like mouthing off and doesn't quite know what's happening, so he's sort of just being a bit loud.
Yeah, I mean they have to make deductions on the spot about him because I mean the main thing is I think the main point of deduction is the Doctor seems like he operates the TARDIS quite well. So I think, well, then Polly thinks well, that's probably his natural home, and Ben's like he might be putting it on, he might be reading the instruments wrong. I don't know what the instruments are saying. Maybe he doesn't either. Maybe it's a double bluff kind of thing. He says it's all double Dutch to me. And I think also I do remember in the 10th Planet. I mean, I know this is kind of more talking about Hartnell's period, but she was the one who she wants to understand what it is about the Cybermen. And she's saying, well, don't you care about the fate of the astronauts? And the Cybermen's like, well, no, we don't care, and we can't care about, the entire planet is full of people dying. Do you care for all of them? So it's like she's kind of trying to understand how the Cybermen think. And she's baffled at the fact that they are so alien. And they're so kind of cold and unfeeling. Kind of. I guess she kind of can't comprehend a species that feels nothing.
Yeah, Polly was also in my experience. She was also so a confident person, not afraid to use her feminine whilst to enlist the help of the Redcoat, for example.
We're talking about the Highlander here.
Yeah, for the Highlander, the first story with Jamie.
Polly she knew she was a good-looking girl.
Yeah,
and I like that about Polly.
Yeah,
like she's just a little bit of a flirt. She's a little bit of a. I know if I wear certain like nice clothes and I bat my eyelashes a bit, she knows,
Yes.
and she has fun with it. That's what I like about it. She has fun with it.
Yes, that's right, and she can play with it. She can use it to solve the problems and in a good way. She use it in a good way.
Yes, because it's just like now and again, she knows exactly what she's doing, and it's like I said, it's just a bit of fun to watch.
Yes, that's really fun. Also the first story with Jamie is also a fun story. The Redcoats. Yeah, it is only that there are some episodes lost, I think.
Yes, that one's been missing.
Highlanders has been missing for ages, hasn't it?
Oh,
that's one of. Is that also already animated or not?
No,
I think not. I think not. Highlanders.
I think Highlanders is like they've got a list that they always moan that it's too hard to do, and I think Highlanders is on that list.
Oh.
Because of all the location shooting on the actual episode, they say like it's hard to animate it somehow. I don't get it myself, but they always like say no, we could never do that one.
Yeah. And also I know Polly was a little bit of a teaser. Yeah, flirty. Polly teased and Bennett were those she cared for, and they hid her affections, particularly for Ben. I think. It's one of the things where you can see that on screen. And she says to him,
Ben would just put his foot in it.
Yeah.
And Polly would just point it out.
Yeah, and she chatted him also up when they met. And she was still chatting him up when they left the TARDIS. And then when their friends were in trouble, Polly was completely serious, particularly if Ben was in trouble. She was always careful. So there's already some indications that there were some things, but it not really worked out in a way. But you can feel there's some affection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, and I think you definitely in the very earliness of the show, I almost feel like, I don't know if you two feel the same, that they didn't quite know what to do with romances.
No.
Like they wanted to try it, but they didn't quite know how to write it.
I suppose. I keep thinking back to Susan. Like she was kind of, in a way, you could say she was the one who was on a journey of some degree of sexual awakening, and of course, eventually she ends up with David. I think, I think maybe they were. That might be it. I think maybe they probably had the mindset. Well, there'll be a romantic interest there. They'll keep people watching. Will they? Won't they? And obviously, if they do, then it kind of, you spoil the tension. So let's not have them get together, because then you can't go anywhere from there, really. Maybe so. I think I think it was also the case with Jamie Victoria. I think it was meant to be a hint of a romance there, but nothing came of it, I suppose.
Yeah.
I think maybe it was more in the 80s. It was kind of like there was the let's have no romance kind of thing. That was kind of why
there was never a relation between companions in the whole history of this show. I think no.
Not in classic. I think they
classic.
rarely did it it was like, that's what I mean. I feel like it's only ever hinted at in classic. It's never explicitly said on screen.
No.
And I think Ben and Polly are like that, and Barbara and Ian are like that. Like they never say they're together, and they never show them precisely together. But there's little things in the script.
Yeah. Yeah.
That sense is maybe why they liked spending time together in the adventure. Maybe it's kind of why they stuck together in the adventure.
Yeah. Oh, there are also. Yeah.
The thing is, I do know that Polly was probably she had a very 60s view of things. So she was kind of, a 60s woman view of things, which is maybe, I think the archetypal one is when she gets held hot in the power of the Daleks. Like, there's this rebel group and they want to use the Daleks for their political ends to take over the colony. And they hold her hostage. And she does stand up to one of her captors and says, well, but she's also saying, you feel so big standing up to a girl. Let's see how you stand up to a man like Ben, kind of thing. So she's still she's not quite equal to think of herself as equal to men in the sense of I can't beat him, but I can at least call him out a coward that he's picking on me,
Yeah.
So she probably has a 60s view of herself as still the fairer sex, but she can still give it back,
Yeah. Scottish Devil says, I think we may get an animation of the Highlanders on the Battle of Better Budget and Tech.
Oh, I hope so. Because I so would love to see Highlanders.
Yes. Also, by the way, Marco Polo from the First Doctor. I like that also. There are some more things about Ben. Ben was a practical and a realist more. And it took him a while to believe that the TARDIS really traveled through time and space in the beginning. Polly already, was undergoing all the things. He was more skeptical than Polly in that way when during the stories. And in the beginning, you can also see that when the Doctor regenerated. And then he was believing that the new incarnation was the imposter. So it took him some time to trust the Doctor. And Polly was already trusting Foster the Doctor.
Yeah, well, that's kind of, they were standing for the audience who were also skeptical. They were probably, because they probably were wondering, where's this going to go? Is it going to turn out that this is an imposter and the real Doctor's been teleported somewhere and they have to find him? But, or is this going to be the new? And it's like, obviously, gradually, as they warm to him and the Daleks recognize him as a threat, you kind of, you begin to get the idea that this is the new Doctor. It's the same doctor, but it's new.
And there was also Ben had also some shyness, but he was adept at taking charge of situations and giving orders, and would always dedicate himself fully to the task, and when it was necessary, and complete to the best of his ability.
Mhm.
So he was was some in that case some more serving the doctor in some cases, more the servants than the friend. Polly was more close to the doctor, I think, than Ben
Yeah. Maybe.
in that point. But he was more things of target or purpose driven. That's the word.
Yeah.
Purpose driven, and more Polly was more relational in that case.
Yeah,
Do you know that? Yeah.
I think she had more of the emotional link with
Yeah.
the doctor, whereas
Yeah.
Ben was
More practical.
I need Ben to do this task.
Yeah.
I need him to go and get some hostages or
Yeah.
go and run. Like that was Ben's sort of role.
Yes, that's right. So this was a very good combination, but it was too. I think it was too short for me. Then the combination Doctor and Ben and Polly. I wanted to see more, but I don't know what the reason was that I left the show.
I don't think that's come up either in like interviews or anything.
No.
I need to look into that. I know, like I've seen Anneke Wills give talks at conventions. But usually I kind of they tend to skim over that and talk about the later years of her life. So like it tends to get short shrift. I don't know. I mean, it might be that I think it was like new production teams were coming in, because I think there were several different. They would swap producers sometimes even within a season, and so it might be that new producer decided, well, I think it'd be better if we just of the companions we got, let's go with Jamie maybe. And,
well, I think obviously we'll get onto this more when we get to Jamie. I think the chemistry between Pat and God, I'm blanking. Fraser, sorry. I was blanking that. I feel terrible. Like the chemistry is just so obvious on screen.
Yeah.
Versus God love Ben's actor. Like he's not a bad actor, but you just, like we were sort of saying, there was almost this bit of a distance, wasn't there, between his character and the Doctor, and even just the chemistry. You felt that a little bit.
Yeah.
Whereas with Jamie, it was just like instant. Yes, these two are just best mates.
Yes.
Yeah. They had the biggest fun on the set.
Yes.
Yeah, but we got Patrick Troughton was a little bit of eccentric in his personality.
He was a prankster, wasn't he?
Yeah, and but he was also a person who involved the whole set and was really a man of he was really what do you call it, empathy, or for the other actors, a little bit caring.
Yeah.
To make them better. But you can see when Ben and Polly, when Jamie starts to come in, then the whole dynamics change in the.
I know, Deborah Watling said that when she came in, like she was quite nervous, and it was like, Patrick Troughton took her under his wing and like just made her feel welcome.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
She said she said she was very fatherly with him, and
Yeah. But we couldn't talk about Jamie. We see him in the Highlanders the first time. The Highland Scot with his typical Scottish clothes. Very funny, by the way. He was wearing during the whole series. He was wearing most of the time these Scottish clothes, or do you call that?
He had a kilt.
A kilt.
Nearly
yes, that was a
every
kilt.
episode.
That's very, very funny.
Which is even more funny when he had like a modern top on for the time, but he still had his kilt. on his own. Like
Yeah.
he'd have a nice smart, like some of the episodes, he'd have a nice smart jumper,
Mhm.
and then he'd have like the brightest. Obviously, it's not in color, but you can picture it being like this really bright, like red. I almost imagine it in my head.
Yeah.
Red kilt. It's like, just to completely show he's never quite left the Highlands.
It was, but he was from the mid 18th century, and he was the only companion who traveled with all the companions of the second Doctor. So he traveled with Polly and then, but also with Victoria and Zoe. So he was the one who had met all the companions of the second Doctor.
Mhm.
So it's a central figure in that thing. And then later we can see him also in a multi-Doctor story.
Well, technically, too, he was
Yeah.
in, wasn't he? Technically,
Yeah.
because he was in as a cameo in the Five Doctors,
Yes. So
and then we got him properly in the Two Doctors.
mhm. And he also had a couple of adventures with the Brigadier, with Stewart. It is the, I think, Brigadier Ledwidge Stewart is also a companion, not traveling in the TARDIS, but we can count him as a companion, I think.
Yeah.
Do we not?
Yeah.
Or-
See,
Very fair.
I'm awkward. I don't count him as a companion for
No?
Second Doctor.
No?
I think this is the introduction, definitely,
Okay.
to the
Okay.
Brig,
Yes.
but I associate him with the Third Doctor as a companion.
Yes. That's right. Yeah. He's more a significant role in the Third Doctor era. I think. Yes, that's right. But it's
Like,
more an introduction. I can agree. It's more an
It's-
introduction with the second Doctor. Yeah.
It's also like in the Second Doctor's era, UNIT isn't even established yet properly, is it?
Yes.
It's established late, like in the invasion, like we're told all about UNIT and like because
Mhm.
in like the first Brigadier's first story is the Web of Fear. He's not even a brigadier yet; he's just a colonel. But he's one of the surviving soldiers. And he reports on the situation, and I think that's where, in the aftermath of that, the United Nations gets interested in the idea of alien threats, and so he becomes recruited to be brigadier of UNIT, and that becomes let's look into alien menaces, and so that was kind of that the it said that the invasion with the Cybermen, that was UNIT's baptism of fire, shall we say?
Yeah.
But, then it becomes their mainstay in the the Third Doctor era.
Yeah. And then Jamie traveled in the TARDIS for most of the Doctor's second incarnation's life.
Mm-hmm.
You can see him most of the time. And there are really, I think this combination is one of the best combinations in the whole history of Doctor Who.
Yes.
It's the same with my opinion is you have the combination of the 10th Doctor and Donna, and I think what classic is that's it. The second Doctor with Jamie. So sort of. I think. Do you agree or?
I would. Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, because this might be controversial, but I rate Second Doctor and Jamie above Tom and Sarah. I just see sort of two lads
Mhm.
mucking about and having fun, and and I think the difference why I love Jamie as well with the Second Doctor, you see such an evolution.
Yeah.
Of him, and from this very Scottish from the century he's from, and you just see him sort of slowly learn all the technobabble a little bit and understand what time travel is a bit and all these future sites he has to understand.
Yeah.
And then by the end, I love how they just have these fun little barbs at each other. Like there's no malice whatsoever.
Mhm.
But I just love the fact that it gets to a point where Jamie can just sort of look at the Doctor and be quite sarcastic and be like, what mess have you got us in now? And for me, that's a proper sign of they've been years at this point travelling.
To try and give
ease with each other is just brilliant to watch for me.
He's always I know Jamie's always needing the Doctor about how he can't pilot the TARDIS. He's like, you can't control it. We'll see about that, Jamie.
He's very like, oh God, this thing, what's it doing now? And it's the end of it's like, just be patient, Jamie. And he's like, no, we're gonna end up in like some planet 200 years ago or something. Like that's what I mean. There's very much this affectionate banter between them.
Yes, they try each other out, or yes, they say things that drive them there to action, or they do things to irritate, but that it's always for the good cause.
Oh yeah, and also like Jamie's just this sort of cannonball that once he gets going, you just can't stop him. So the Doctor just has to sort of quietly try and control Jamie.
As for example, that story with the double role, that Patrick Troughton had a double role. That Salamander. That Jamie is not trusting the things, and you can feel the tension. You can feel that Jamie isn't sure if it is the Doctor or not, and was really trying him out.
You mean Enemy of the World? Because in that there's this dictator character called Salamander. I think it's only at the end when Salamander comes on it comes into the TARDIS, and Jamie and Victoria first think it's the Doctor, and then gradually when they realize he can't, he doesn't know how to navigate this ship, they're like, the Doctor's acting oddly, and I think maybe Jamie does suss it that this isn't the Doctor.
I think you've got Evil of the Daleks.
Yes.
Where Jamie actually does have a proper, I would say it's a go. It's not the sort of banter that they have later on, because the Doctor does use him in a sense. Yeah. And he's very quick to sort of, as soon as that happens, to call him out and be like, yeah, I'm not your toy that you can just say, go there. Yeah. Like, I'm a person, and you can't just use me and not think of the consequences.
Well, I get the sense he's disgusted that the Doctor would use people in general that way, and I think, doesn't he at some point say, after this we're finished?
Yeah, there's a proper point in that story where he's like, yeah, I'm not happy at all with you anymore, and I don't like what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because you are using me, like he's quite protective of Victoria.
Yes.
And he sees how the Doctor's sort of using Victoria. And he doesn't like that. And he's like, well, I thought I meant more because I've travelled now for a bit with you and I thought we were friends.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
that's
you
right.
are just sort of using this girl when she's a very innocent sort of person in the whole story.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing. Like, I love that moment and you can see Troughton does. I think this is a bit of Pat coming through, but the Doctor as well, when he thinks Jamie's dead, or when the Daleks threaten to hurt Jamie, he's very quick to be like, no, you don't do that. And you sort of see emotion.
Mm-hmm.
I think more than you would see in Bill, if I'm being honest, because you can see that panic in his face and the way he's speaking.
Yeah. And I mean, you pointed on that thing about Victoria. It's like that's another thing about Jamie. It's he is a very chivalrous character, isn't he? Very, he is your classic white knight, isn't he?
Actually, I wouldn't say white knight. I would just say sort of old-fashioned protector.
Yes. Yeah.
That in his era, that's what men did.
Yeah.
They would be the ones who would put themselves in front of a woman to defend her and to fight for her. That's what. There's no ulterior motive with Jamie at all. You can just see that's the way he was brought up.
Yes.
Might be a little ulterior motive. I don't know.
But no, okay. Later on, maybe. But when he first comes across her, it comes across to me anyway as a very old-fashioned.
Yeah.
She's sort of the younger woman. I'm sort of the younger strapping bloke who can fight. I'll be the one to defend her. And then when he gets to know her, he gets a little bit. I'm not going to deny that. There's a few comments about her in certain outfits, and it's like, Jamie, you would be cancelled, mate, within 5 minutes if you said this stuff today.
Yeah, Victoria has to remind her she's a Victorian lady, and she.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that also makes me laugh because I noticed this, didn't you? Like, considering we've just said that he's quite he's sort of the romantic hero. He does get caught and like knocked out a lot. Like, if anything, I would say he's a bit more of the damsel.
Yeah.
Than any of the female companions in the Second Doctor era. Because the amount of stories I've watched, I'd be like, Jamie's about to get knocked out, and he gets knocked out.
And again, knocked out.
Or he gets captured. Or he just gets himself in trouble.
Yes.
But, Scottish Devers says that pretty good accent from Frasier, which is rare because most people can do Scottish accents and it drives me nuts.
Yeah, because isn't he from Yorkshire, Fraser?
I believe so, yeah. I mean, I know he was... Obviously, he was big in Emmerdale, wasn't he? That was, like, the big one. Presumably he was... I'll check, actually.
Because it is a very good Scottish accent, considering he's English.
Yeah. Okay, Fraser. Wait a minute. Early life. Yeah, Horsforth, northwest suburb of Leeds, and then Yorkshire. Oh, his mother was Scottish though, so maybe he
that makes sense.
Yeah.
if he would have grown up around it, it would. Yeah, that's probably because it's not just the accent. It's like because Jamie does talk in sort of Scottish slang sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's hard to do authentically, and it sounds authentic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was very strong. Jamie had a very strong connection to his Scottish homeland during the whole series. He was always for example, the mine robber. He also sees the bagpipes, sound of the bagpipes. So he was always in his mind. He was always busy with his homeland, Scotland. During his series, he was very proud of that.
I love that sequence because it's just so creepy. You know, you know that something is out there trying to lure them out, and they're falling for it. That's what I love that sequence.
Oh, I love the sequence when he thinks the Cyberman. What does he think he is?
The demon Piper.
Yeah.
The demon Piper. Yeah, that one.
Yeah. And he was always unconscious.
You can feel that he thinks it is this thing from his homeland.
Yeah. I think it's because
that sequence.
Like, yeah, I think it's some. Yeah, sorry. I know what I mean. It was just what's interesting sequence is that's when he's got a fever. So you see a little bit more see more of his kind of. You see him in a vulnerable state. There, you see a little bit of his macho act going. He's kind of in delirium. He starts to panic, and you don't normally see him. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I love about that scene, because like you said, yeah, he is a lot because he's by himself. There's no Doctor or Polly or Ben around. And it's because it's the old-fashioned Cyberman. It's such a slow, lumbering sort of creature.
Yeah.
And you, as an audience, we know what it is, but Jamie doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's that sort of as soon as he gets close, and you can tell he's absolutely petrified. Yeah. And even when they come and stop him, like save him in a sense, he's sort of babbling, isn't he? He's sort of still very much in that state of fear. And like Polly's trying to comfort him a bit and he's just beside himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. More about the personality of Jamie. Jamie was simple and straightforward in all things. He was also practical and full of common sense, despite having no formal education. Because when you can see that in combination with Zoe, by the way, in intelligence, he doesn't understand all the things, but he's more of practical things. when you see the Doctor and Zoe talk to each other, then he is one that doesn't understand, and because he's living in 1745 standards. That's the timeline when he does come from. So
Well-
there are also things that he doesn't understand, but he is always more from the action.
It's like in the Dominators when when they're in that kind of that shuttle train, and it's like you can see he's only just gotten used to cars of the 20th century, and like now he's having to understand like automatic kind of train carriages. Like, Doctor, you mean it doesn't like? And he does this steering kind of motion, I said, no, Jamie, it's automatic,
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Doctor, I love that sort of. It's not patronising, but it's almost patronising tone when it's just like, oh, Jamie, it's like the Doctor doing that almost.
Yeah, but Jamie was a rapid learner in things, so that was also the case. I didn't understand the TARDIS, by the way. He was always enthusiastic about it. You can see that always when, but always talk to the Doctor when, you don't know how to operate the TARDIS. It was always enthusiastic to go into new adventures, but always Doctor have to how do you call it?
The Doctor had to rein him in.
Yes, that's right. That's what I mean. Yeah. So the Doctor always have to warn him for some things. And there were some things that Jamie showed were a concern when his companions were in danger. Particularly, Victoria was very protective. Yeah. So, yeah.
I think, but I think that worked also because, yes, we had a younger Doctor, but he wasn't really an action Doctor. So he was still more of a thinking sort of. He would play tricks.
Yeah.
Pat's Doctor. So you sort of needed Jamie to be that sort of sometimes that sort of blunt instrument.
Yeah.
To sort of just get stuff done. Whilst the Doctor was being a bit more mind games and a bit more.
Yeah.
Because obviously with Pat's Doctor, it was this, for me anyway, it was this idea of a fool on the surface, and he did very well playing that, but actually very clever and almost a little bit manipulative.
Yeah.
So when he was a bit more thinking, Jamie was the sort of one to run and sort of face something off and have a bit more of that energy.
Yeah. Jamie was the muscle.
Mm.
And also, Jamie had a habit of pretending to understand technology beyond his ken. And said he said, or what do you call it in Scottish? I don't know, good Scottish. Aye. He was pretending that he understood it, but he didn't. He can see it non-verbal that he didn't understand.
Yeah.
So
he'd sort of just nod sometimes to look like he was understand.
Yeah.
And he was very in his role when he was in charge in one of the stories in the last story of the war games. Okay. He was in charge of things and was very proud of.
Yeah.
So he did know his role.
Well, I think in some ways in the war games, he was like Jamie was kind of mentoring other people who'd been like taken out of time, and they like, for instance, like there was that Mexican guy, the Mexican bandit, and it's like they're playing along with this because like the Doctor's kind of designed this machine to brainwash them, but it's like he's deliberately made it so that it doesn't work. It just says, look, pretend it works. And the Mexican guy doesn't play along. He goes in, he comes out angry. Hey, your machine is no good. It doesn't work on me. And then James like, look, why can't you just play along like the rest of us? Like, So he knows the Doctor's game, and the guy doesn't.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of companions who came while Jamie was still there, like Victoria, like Zoe, I would say he was a bit like that with the girls. You could see him trying to sort of ease their sort of journey at the beginning and sort of be a bit like, yeah, the Doctor might seem a bit crazy, but trust him.
Yeah.
He was sort of the one to help the girls a bit, understand like the danger a bit, and warm up to the Doctor's ways.
Yeah.
Because he was, and that's why I think it is important to have some companions who do stay for a majority of a Doctor's run, to sort of be that constant presence to help others.
Yeah.
Well, Scottish Devil says, just like Charlotte has to
Yes.
rein me in.
Yes.
And I is Scottish slang for yes, Joker. Oh, Scottish slang? Oh.
It's informal, so instead of saying yes, he would go I.
So after a while, Ben and Polly left. He was replaced by Victoria Rutherfield.
Yeah. What happens?
That screaming lady. Screaming.
Yeah. Yeah. What happens is I forget how Ben and Polly leave. I think the Doctor actually drops them off like right at the point they joined. So it's like and then the TARDIS gets stolen by some criminals, and the Doctor has to hunt it down. And it turns out that this kind of hunt for the TARDIS leads into this guy, Edward Waterfield, who owns this antique shop. And in the back of it, there's a time teleporter, and basically there's a trap laid for them. They get gassed and taken back in time to Victorian times, and there they find out that Edward Waterfield is he's a widow, but he's a father to this girl called Victoria, and he'd been doing time experiments with his friend Max Double, and because of that, it had brought the Daleks. It basically opened a portal for the Daleks to enter into his time. They'd taken his daughter hostage, and they were basically using him to set a trap for the Doctor, because they wanted to use the Doctor's intelligence. And so a large part of the story is them having to rescue Victoria from the Daleks' clutches. And the first scene you see of Victoria, she's in a Dalek cell, and the Dalek is just no human nicety, just bullying her mercilessly. And and she's saying, "You have lost so many pounds," and she could say, "What do you expect?" She's being kept in really horrible conditions, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's sort of portrayed as this sort of lady figure, isn't she? At first, sort of almost like this innocent, ladylike figure that needs to be rescued.
Yes.
And sort of because the Doctor is sort of trying to manipulate and play the Daleks. Yeah. He's with the scientists and the Daleks. So it is Jamie who sort of takes it upon himself almost, once he's a bit free and running around, to find her and to sort of rescue her. So I think that sort of starts to give them to a connection. Yeah. That sort of develops then.
Yeah, and that's in a way kind of he's demonstrating human nature to the Daleks, because he's like the Doctor's pointing out this is what humans do, this is what this is the human instinct, chivalry, teamwork, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think also because that's the whole point, is it, the human factor?
Yeah.
And I think also he's trying to show through Jamie sort of you knowing that you might not win, but you'll do it anyway.
Yeah.
And that is very Jamie, to sort of not think, oh God, I might fail or I might get hurt. He will just go and do what's right, and that's sort of what he's trying to demonstrate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think she was one of the youngest companions ever to travel with the Doctor. But because she was she was 15 years or something in that season.
She came across younger.
Playing. Yeah.
She came across younger.
Yeah. And she was made an orphan because of the murder of. The mother was already dead, but her father was murdered by the Daleks, so he was an orphan when she travels with the Doctor.
Yeah.
And then Doctor and Jamie take care of her in something. It's a sort of father figure thing.
There's a lovely scene in Two.
She was more dependent. She was more dependable on because she had she lost her parents and she didn't know what to do further with her life. Or then so the Doctor has a more father figure now. When we see that with the first Doctor, but now we can see the second Doctor more like a father figure.
Yeah, there's two lovely scenes. There's one in Tomb of the Cybermen where they're resting, they're waiting, they're under the siege in the I think I forget who's on guard duty, but basically Victoria's been watching whilst the others sleep, and the Doctor takes over, and then they have this chat between them and she talks about losing her father, and he has this lovely line where he says to her, your memory of him won't always be a unhappy one. Yeah. It won't always be a sad one. And,
because he's talking about grief, isn't he?
Yes.
And how you deal with losing family.
Yeah.
And I think that's also really interesting quickly for the Doctor, because we've known he's got family through Susan, but now we've learned he's lost people.
Yeah.
So that, like you said, I think she does sort of need that father figure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the Doctor almost recognises that. And especially in that moment, he's sort of purposely being that figure that she needs. Because like I said, she's I think I've always got the feeling with Victoria, she was told to play it very, very young.
Yeah.
A lot more than Susan. Because Susan could have that naivety, but she was also a Time Lord. You could get that sense of she travelled a bit, she was a bit more, she knew the world a bit more.
Yeah.
Whereas Victoria is very sheltered. You get that feeling like she's sort of been kept in this almost bubble of innocence.
Yeah.
And then when she starts travelling, it sort of shocks to her system to keep seeing actually the world can be quite a not very nice place.
Yeah.
And there can be these creatures beyond Daleks which also can be horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And of course with the Cybermen, I think a normal person would find that shocking. But I think for Victoria, it's especially shocking because of her upbringing and the way she was sort of kept sort of away from all these horrible things in the world.
Yeah.
Because I think Jamie becomes like a big brother a little bit to her.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think this
That sort of
combination.
older brother, yeah.
Yeah, this combination is more the combination second Doctor, Jamie and Victoria is more like a family. Fam.
Don't say that word. Do not say that word.
This really a fam. This really a fam. This because yes, that's right. Jamie is more a brother, and second Doctor is more a father. It's sort of like a fam.
Well, I mean, there's also a scene in Web of Fear where even Professor Travers, he's kind of known Victoria twice, and he knows about her backstory. And there's a scene where she's gone looking for Jamie and the Doctor in the tunnels, and he's saying, he kind of remarks sadly that boy and that Doctor's all that girl's got in the world, and he's kind of acknowledging that she's she's got no other family now. It's kind of.
I mean, I think with Victoria, it's the first time you see a companion really needing the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything else has been taken away from them. Because I know Jamie's been taken from time, but he's still got that link, like we were saying, with his homeland and with his sort of Scottishness. Whereas Victoria, you can almost feel like she is sort of finding herself and trying to re-establish who she is now.
Mhm.
And the Doctor and Jamie are a big part of that.
Yeah. Indeed.
Yeah, I think it's Victoria is one of the most dependent campaigns of all time.
Yeah.
Because of her situation, because she's still looking for her identity. For that age, and she lost at a young age her parents, and they must find their way in things, and she met the Doctor on the right time, I think.
Yeah.
But it's very heavy to meet all the Cybermen, Daleks, and all for very traumatic for her. And all the screaming, by the way. And there was one adventure when she screams when they solve a problem with that screaming. I think it was.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. It's so cringy. Oh yeah. That word "femme" is so cringy. But this is really a femme.
This is a proper TARDIS family, because I think that word, like we said, you felt a bit of that with Ian, Barbara, and Susan, but this Victoria, JB, and the Doctor really do feel like they've got their roles and their needs with each other, and sort of how they help each other. Because Victoria, I think you do see her change, and she becomes a lot less dependent and a lot more sort of willing to use her voice throughout her run. You do see that change, which is really nice to see.
Well, there's an interesting moment in Tomb of the Cybermen where she seems to look at the dynamic between Klieg and what's the evil woman's name? Is it?
Oh, I'm rubbish with names and long stories.
It's the woman who basically tricks it into the isolation room. It's the Tomb of the Cybermen. Kathleen or something. I'll never forget Blue Bonnet playing her like as this, let's see. It was where's it gone? Oh, it's Kaftan. Yeah, Kaftan.
Oh yes.
And but she kind of senses in a way that she seems to from the view that it's Kaftan who's the poisonous one, and she's kind of trying to reach him, and like she really doesn't like Kaftan at all, and so when she's kind of trying to try the appeal of reason with Klieg, and she's like, I'm talking to him, not you. So it's like she's really kind of honing in on, just stay out of this, you're poison, you're trouble, kind of thing. But she's kind of trying to get a measure of who she can reach in this and who she can't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You three are a TARDIS family.
Who's who, though?
Now you can see an Avatar.
Charlotte, you be Zoe. I'll be, I don't know.
Zoe.
I'm probably Harry. Harry the imbecile.
Oh. Despite her obvious distress in many situations with screaming, and also she quickly adapted a role where she could actively help the Doctor and Jamie. So she was very helpful. Mm-hmm. And she was. We all may mention she was so young, but she could stand together with the Doctor and Jamie. Mm-hmm. Also in one of the series, the Tomb of the Cybermen, you can see that Victoria is more and more participating in the things. And she was more brave during. She became more brave during the season. You can see that. So it was in that case she was equal to the other two men.
I know it's a minor point, but it does feel like she starts to gravitate a bit more to modern fashion, doesn't she? Like,
yeah.
I know at first, like she, like in the Ice Warrior, she's very prudish about the way that it's all a feature of miniskirts, and like she's
Yeah, and that's the conversation where Jamie's very like, in modern day, mate, you would not be allowed to say those things. When he's like, oh, I wouldn't mind some girls in shorts, or I can't remember the exact line, but I can't help but laugh because I'm like, yeah, Jamie, you would think that.
And Victoria's like, Jamie, you know, she's
Yeah, and she is very like that with him, like.
Yeah.
You prude you like horrible man, but in a very innocent way.
Yes. Yes. Don't be so ungentlemanly, Jamie. But also in Web of Fear, obviously she's trying about more kind of modern fashions, and like she's trying off this new mod outfit, and I think she's kind of fishing for the compliment from Jamie, and like you know, doesn't it look sophisticated? And like and Jamie kind of disinterests. Oh, by the way, sorry, Doctor, and like Victoria's really disappointed that Jamie missed, like he didn't say what he's supposed to.
Yeah, she was trying for a compliment. She didn't get it.
Yes.
Like the one time she wanted Jamie's mouth just to run off. It didn't happen.
Oh yeah, that's very funny. During her old time, she missed her home and her father. In the whole. Sometimes she was unwilling to go into adventures, but yeah, because of her age and because of all the things, she was a little bit emotional.
Toward the end, it did feel like it was getting a bit much for her, and she was fed up of dealing with these nightmare creatures like the Daleks and Cybermen. And I mean, she in a way, I feel like there's a missed opportunity that she never faced the Daleks again. I thought it might have been interesting to see her facing again the creatures that had brought her so much misery, and obviously left her without a father. That never happened on TV, although there was a comic strip that did, called Bringer of Darkness, and that's where you see her work through her issues. But in Fury from the Deep, she says she's getting fed up with this, and I think that's why she decides she's had enough, really. And I think that's, it's kind of like obviously like in The Girl in the Fireplace, there's that, is the Doctor worth the monsters? And I think at that point she still likes the company of Jamie and the Doctor, but the monsters are getting too much for her.
Yeah, and I think with her, you get a companion who's very aware of the danger, and you see that. Whereas some companions just love that, and they like the adrenaline, they like sort of having the battles. And with Victoria, you can see it does sort of, once the shininess of adventuring starts to go, she's sort of just left with that fear, and you can sort of see that near the end.
Yes.
Yeah. But we can see then that Jamie was significantly distressed, much more than he had been with Ben and Polly when she departed. Her reasons for leaving when the Doctor and Jamie were unique, because it was more of a consequence because of her age or youth. She wanted to decided to live with the childless couple Harris in 1968. So she's stranded there in 1968.
Yeah, they can become her adoptive parents now, don't they?
Yeah, she became adopted by two persons. So you can see that Jamie is very distressed.
Yeah, because he tries to convince her, doesn't he? Oh no, you can keep on traveling, and you can just see, God love him, he's trying, but it's just not going to get through to her, because she, like Sudoku said, she had very much come to that point.
Yeah.
So, but I have seen some interviews of Fraser Hines and what is her real name? The actress
Deborah Watling.
Deborah. That they had after she left the show, they had a relationship for a short time. There was some romance behind the set.
The interviews they have on 30 Years in the TARDIS are actually very touching. Like, if you got that, like she's you can see like how fond they are of being, beside each other. And
Yeah.
I do remember her saying that I remember in this Doctor Who interview, she was talking about the scene where they go into they're reenacting the scene where they enter the Emperor Dalek's lair, and Jamie's with her, and she's kind of, they share a look together, and they have the feeling of the back, and then I think the director says cut, and like they say, oh, we won't go with that, and she was like furious. She said, no, that look was exactly right. That look between her and Jamie, that was the feeling. It was real, and you can't cut that out. But like she said, look, they missed the point. They kind of tried to portray it as they tried to make it too modern, and they felt it didn't have the classic feel. And she also was, I mean, she was a bit disgruntled because when that got broadcast, basically huge chunks of Fraser's, like Fraser had said, given a lot of interviews, he said in the final cut that made it to TV, like they cut out all of Fraser's lines. He was there, but he didn't speak. And she said, look, he's the longest serving companion at that point. And, obviously she was very fond of him. And so she said and I think this kind of, that stirred a desire to, we want the full cut. We want the fuller extended version. So when you get the DVD version of More Than 30 Years in the TARDIS, it's the extended cut. So you actually see them talking together.
Yeah.
You see a lot more footage. And I think she was kind of one of the leading voices of, this is what we should have gotten,
Yeah, and I think in that whole, I think you see it with a lot of the TARDIS teams of this time, but I think especially with those three, you get this sense of so much respect between the actors for each other and for what they've done. Obviously, with Pat having to be the first Doctor after a regeneration, having to sort of have so much weight on his shoulders. Like Fraser was very young. It's sort of like he looks it as well at the beginning of the era, especially. So you've got quite a young actor in Fraser, who, like we said, became very quickly the constant, the dependable presence.
Yeah.
And obviously with her being quite young and sort of learning a lot off those two, but you can see that built a real respect for what they all did on that show. So it's lovely to see that in interviews.
Yeah,
that's right. And then the Doctor made a new friend in the mentally gifted Zoe Harriet.
Yeah.
Another interesting combination. So there are other dynamics. These three, not a family anymore. I think, not really a family anymore, but other interesting things. What can you describe this relation between these three?
See, I think there was maybe a hint of romantic tension with Jamie and Victoria, but I think it was much more sisterly with him and Zoe. Definitely. And I think it was like Zoe was kind of like, she was more the big sister to him, whereas like Zoe, I think if Victoria was the little sister, then Zoe was the big sister to him.
Yeah, because of obviously Zoe's intelligence and the fact that she came from the future. I think, she naturally did sort of get that higher position almost, because there would be scenes, and I always find them funny to watch now, but like Zoe and the Doctor having a proper like, oh, if we do this, or if we do this with this machine, and you can just see they're both just a proper sparking off each other because they're both intelligent sort of scientific minds. And then you've got poor Jamie in the corner just looking at them like,
yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go over here and just to mess around with this thing while you have your little computer talk. But I think that's so relatable though, because so many of us are basically Jamie. And that's probably what we would do. We'd just be like, yeah, that interesting bit of rug, I'm going to go and look at that. And then you come and tell me in 5 minutes what we're doing with the machines.
I think, I mean, the one discussion I remember with the big one was when they first meet is the Doctor says to her, like she's saying, it's pure logic, and the Doctor says to her, logic merely enables people to be wrong with authority. And I think that maybe that's a hint that the Doctor's kind of looks at things differently to her. But like he's still clever, but it's a different kind of order of clever to her, maybe.
Yeah, is she a companion that challenges the Doctor more than the other companions, or in some intelligence, or?
I don't think it's a challenge. I think it's a different way he's having to watch.
Okay.
It's like they're both trying to fix the solution, technically with intelligence, but both are doing it in a very different manner to each other.
They see it in another way. They see it in another way and do want to do it in another way. Or is that it?
Yeah, because Zoe's very literal, isn't she? Knowledge, like computers, whereas the Doctor's a bit more science with a bit of common sense put in with a bit of history. Like the way the Doctor solves anything isn't really with just one skill. It's like multiple skills sort of helping each other. Whereas with Zoe, it's very, I'm like a computer. I'm thinking of this here's my solution. Whereas the Doctor doesn't, I don't think any Doctor, but I think especially Pat's Doctor, sort of does things on the sort of unorthodox manner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, but what I say is she was one of the very few companions of the Doctor that was smart, and even smarter than a Doctor, I think. In some things. So this is more what I was meaning. What I say about challenge more. But is it more to compete or?
I think they were a complement to each other.
Yeah, I think if you compare her to other companions, yes.
Yeah.
I just don't think if you do the comparison with the Doctor, it quite works. But with other companions, yes.
More of her personality. In the beginning, she was more like a robot figure, I think. Maybe she came more. She was not showing her own character in the beginning. So that more.
Her crewmates found her very cold.
Yeah, cold in the beginning. She was not showing herself in the beginning.
And she seemed to take that very personally, like she was kind of almost hurt by the remark. Which was odd, but
but she was also brave. She was quick to call for assistance if she needed it. That was also a thing in the Seeds of Death, for example. And she was
when I can't remember the episode title, but when she had to pilot like the rocket or or whatever it was, that was like the antique.
Yeah.
And like the Doctor couldn't do it, so she had to listen to the Doctor. But it took a lot of her sort of intelligence and just, like you said, the braveness that like this is about like hundreds of years old at this point. I think the rocket.
Yeah, it's. Mm-hmm.
And it's like this could blow up any minute and kill you, but she does it anyway. With like Jamie being told, "You press that button."
Yeah.
I read some interesting thing about Zoe. She was supposed to stay on in season 7. It was but she decided to leave along with Patrick Troughton and Fraser Hines. But it was the plan that she was supposed to stay together with John Pertwee, but she decided to leave. But Liz Sheldy came and was created in her place. So it was the original plan was that she would stay.
I think
it was very interesting. I found it very interesting, by the way.
Yeah, I think I've heard Fraser talk that they all almost had a pact, like him, Pat, and there would be Zoe's actress, that they would all go together.
Yeah.
That none of them wanted to stay on without the other two.
Yeah. Yeah, and the reason why I say this is because Liz Shaw is also a scientist. So I think the combination of John Pertwee and it was that'd be very interesting, I think.
Oh, I just like I can't help but think. Imagine Pertwee trying to deal with Jamie.
Yeah. Oh no.
I just
I think
couldn't
good.
help but think that
Yeah.
would be hilarious.
Yes. Yeah, it was very interesting, I think. Yeah.
Like if he was inheriting one, imagine him trying to inherit those two. I just can't see Pertwee being able to deal with Jamie at all. He would just drive him crazy.
Yeah. I mean, but just to get back to what you said, I think I believe originally there was a different departure story written for Jamie, was there? And but obviously they went with the they didn't do it, and obviously so with the War Games became the departure, and it became the departure for them both, didn't it? But I believe there was maybe went to be an ending where Jamie just is returned to his own time or something, or he leaves of his own volition or something. I remember I read it somewhere.
It could have been, but like I said, I don't know if I've misheard, but I'm sure I've heard Fraser say in a panel or an interview they were all very close and they didn't really want to leave each other near the end of the run.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think I mean, yeah. I mean, what's interesting about Zoe as well is that she chooses to kind of sneak aboard the TARDIS, doesn't she? She becomes a stowaway, and it's because of her intellectual curiosity, isn't it? It's like she wants to see what's ahead. She wants to learn a bit more. She wants to see more of. I guess she wants to see more of space. She wants to see more of the more frontier science. She wants to go on that adventure with the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the Doctor definitely was a big intrigue for her, wasn't it? Like this sort of his intelligence, his machines, like how he could do the things he could do.
Yeah. Maybe as well with the Cybermen, she had a taste for danger and adventure as well. And I know now the final scene is basically the Doctor showing her this. He basically shows this with the telepathic device. He shows her the Daleks and says, "This is what you might be facing. This is the worst of them." And that's kind of, and I think she's kind of, there's a look on her face which she never actually says yes or no, but the look almost suggests this kind of determined curiosity of, well, there's dangers out there, but I kind of want to face them.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Do you think then what we just spoke about with Victoria, he does that because of Victoria and her sort of reaction near the end?
Possibly, but I think maybe it's more that he knows that, but by this point he's learned that the Daleks are the worst of the worst, and he wants to kind of let her know this is what you're going to face. I think it's more that he's, yeah, it could be Victoria. That's a point.
I'm just thinking if he's had one companion leave because of the danger.
Yeah.
And then the first is interesting. Like I found that one of the first things he does do is like try and almost scare her away.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I could be wrong. I just don't know if maybe that's a bit of hangover from Victoria influencing him doing that.
It's possible. Also, I think I read that apparently there'd been deaths on the space station itself. The Cybermen had killed various people, some that the Doctor had been quite fond of, and so maybe I think that plays into as well as you think that this has been dangerous. I've resolved this for you. This is the kind of danger you might be faced if you carry on. Like if the space station's safe now, this journey we're going on isn't. Maybe that's kind of it. But I think, well, I mean, part of the reason they did that sequence also was because they were that was the lead into a repeat run of Evil of the Daleks. So it was kind of like, that was kind of supposed to be the prompt to the repeat of, because Evil of the Daleks has been so popular, this time it's repeated. So that became the lead into the repeat.
That would make sense as well.
Yeah.
For purely telly reasons.
Yes.
Maybe it's interesting to talk about the relation from the second Doctor to the first. We can see some exchanges with the Brigadier.
Oh yeah.
There's not unit is not established at the time, but you see some. You have a relation between the second Doctor and the Brigadier, the third Doctor, and so on. But the first time the Brigadier meets the Doctor is in his second Doctor.
Yeah.
And how do you see that relationship?
Well, it's in the first story, The Web of Fear. It's kind of there is a you're not quite sure about the colonel. Like he's at this point, the Brigadier is still a colonel. He's not yet the Brigadier.
Yeah.
Like he's a mysterious figure, and it's a story where there's kind of a mystery about one of them is meant to be the agent of the Great Intelligence. Mm-hmm. One of them is their spy, their agent, and so at first the Brigadier is kind of painted as one of the obvious culprits because he's curious about the TARDIS. They're trapped together. They're besieged in the London Underground, and the Brigadier hears the Doctor tell him about the TARDIS, and most of the soldiers are like, "Oh, I don't believe that. There's no way." I mean, but Brigadier's like, "Well, if it's a way out, we're going to get it." He's like, "I'm going to." He decides he wants that machine, and that that's maybe a mislead that he actually might be actually an agent of the intelligence, that the TARDIS is what he's after. But it's toward the end. I think it's when the Brigadier leads his men into this street battle with the Yeti, and they lose badly. And he barely makes it out alive, and he's kind of devastated. He's defeated, and he's like, they were just unstoppable. And he's kind of talking to the Doctor, like, "You were right, Doctor. They're unstoppable." And I think that's where you see the moment of trust and the moment of kind of that human connection, that the Brigadier's kind of steel is broken down, and he kind of turns to the Doctor. And that's, I suppose, the first hint that he's going to be reliant on the Doctor. When the seeds are really down, he is reliant on the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
and I think as just from that story, and like when the next time you see the Brig, I think you're seeing like this trust in the character of the Brig. Yeah. But I think quite early on, you were almost seeing the Doctor not quite know how to deal with the military man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sort of, just because he might trust him, but the military, he's got a very different mindset because of his background.
Yeah.
And the sort of shoot first, don't ask questions.
Yeah.
You can see that the Doctor doesn't quite know how to sort of work with that.
Yeah.
Like it's because even like the second time he meets him, you can definitely get that warmth that's established from the Web of Fear.
Yeah.
But he's also a little bit he's not completely working with him, is he? He tries to run away a bit, or he tries to sort of get away from the Brig, because I think at the end of the day he knows their ways aren't compatible at the moment.
Yeah.
They can't fully work together just because of their positions and the way they do things.
Yeah.
But he likes him. Like, definitely, you can tell that he likes him. He sort of trusts him, but he doesn't quite know how to handle him.
Yeah. I do love the invasion. It's love that story.
I love the scene when like they realise they're being followed.
Yeah.
And they just sit on the pavement and start like, what does Pat do? He starts like playing cards or something.
He does, yeah. I love that bit. Yeah.
And like the Briggs men are just like, what are we meant to do with this? They've just sat on the pavement playing cards.
I must correct myself because from the latest thing. Labor Stewart was working at Unit from 1967, and we can see that in Survivors of the Flux. Didn't see that he was already working at.
Yeah, but that's a Chibnall script, so who knows?
So is it non-canonical?
with Chibnall and dates, it could mean anything at this point.
I was very surprised when I saw that they were looking back to Labor Stewart from Unit.
Unit dating has always been funny, I think.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it was Jim Mill trying to correct that personally.
But I think the relation between second doctor and
Right. So-
Colonel,
Yeah.
he was Colonel, eh? The moment.
He was Colonel in the Web of Fear. He was
Yeah.
Brigadier in the Invasion.
Yeah, there was more of a sometimes meeting, and I think it was also the producer or the story writers were looking for a way to write him in the stories more. And then they saw that Nicholas Courtney was a good actor, so they had a bigger part for him in Third Doctor stories.
Yeah,
that's it. I think that they were searching or for a way to more participating him more. So he's indeed more a companion in the Third Doctor stories than in the second, because it was more loose, more or yeah.
Yeah. I think
I think he got established as an important figure,
Yeah,
but not a
that's right.
companion.
No.
Yeah.
That's right. Very important, because Third Order was a member of units in that. The relationship was it was a working relationship, but in the end they were really friends. Developed as really friends.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, Charlotte, he didn't quite take the Brigadier into it all yet, and
No.
so.
No, I think it was with purpose. With purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say he sort of kept him at arm's length.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I would argue the Second Doctor.
Yeah.
So we had all the companions of this Doctor.
Yeah, not as many as Bill.
Not as many as Bill. There were 10, and I think I'm really for the combination of the Doctor and Jamie, and we also we repeated it. It's one of the most interesting combinations of all. And Jamie was a companion who met all the other companions of this Doctor. So it really had a key role in it.
Yeah, and I just think, I won't go on too much because this is my big gripe with New Who, like just in general. But I think they've been very safe with companions, and I think to have a sort of Jamie type companion again.
Yeah.
For me to have a Dr. male companion, to have that bit, so there's no romance at all. It's just sort of two really good mates.
Yes, friends, and.
But having that almost, for me, brotherly link again between a Doctor and a companion would be nice.
Yeah,
just to have that very different way of approaching things. Because I think you do. I think in a way, if it was a Doctor male companion, you would have to sort of not have them show how they felt a bit so much. You would all have to be subtext.
Yeah.
Like I said, with the Second Doctor, you could tell he really adored Jamie, but he would never say it.
Yeah.
So it's almost, it reminds me a bit of like Holmes and Watson.
Yeah.
But obviously they're very different, but that idea of brothers in blood.
Yes.
Brothers in sort of everything but blood.
Yeah.
And sort of have that sort of reliance on each other, which I just think is a bit different to a male Doctor and a female companion. I think we've had that so much. It's like, let's just have a bit of a shake-up, for me anyway.
Yeah. I think the when we see the Second Doctor with his companions, you can see really a blueprint. I think it's a good example of how this works. Yeah. This is working.
Yeah, and I think
this is good for the future. In so a sort of blueprint, but of Triton era, like the Triton era.
Yeah, and I think what Sudoku was talking about, that you see such change.
Yeah.
In the setup and how things are done, a lot different.
Yeah.
In Troughton's era with his companions.
Yeah. It's very good developed. Yeah.
And I think it was clever. I think they needed to do something different. They couldn't just repeat Ian and Barbara and Susan again.
No, that's right. They did a really good job.
We really need to talk about the goodbye, don't we? Well, I mean, there's a few more things to say of Zoe. I think one is like, for instance, in the invasion, like I think in the invasion, she really, even though she's from the future, she seems very in her element in '60s London. It's is it Yvonne she meets, who's the fashion photographer model, and like
Yes.
she kind of discovers a niche as like being the perfect model and like dressing in the '60s look kind of thing.
It comes across to me as almost she's enjoying being a bit of a girly girl, which she's never really been before.
Yes,
that was a story with Tobias Vaughan.
Tobias Vaughan, yeah.
Yeah, and then there was also the Brigadier in Benton.
Oh, sorry, no, it was Isabel Watkins. That was her name.
Isabel Watkins.
She was the she was the she was the girl that she was the fashion model.
Oh yes, right. Yeah, I know.
Zoe seems to be very fond of him. Like they kind of make a good team, a good duo kind of thing.
Yeah, with the clothes and taking photos. Photographs.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh yeah. There's one side of her more girly.
You almost get the sense it's like a world she's never seen before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's just loves to explore it because obviously in the future she's been very sort of focused on her job and there wasn't really room, I would suspect, to just sort of have a bit of fun and dress
more
up a
fun,
bit.
more laughing, more open. So
and she has been traveling around with two blokes, so it's probably nice to have that female little bit of female presence again.
Yes, that's right. It's a very nice story, by the way, with Packer and story of the invasion with the cyber men.
Yeah.
It was the last storm with the Cybermen in Trouton, and then in 1975, then they were coming back to. Screen.
Yeah. It was the invasion was the last Cyberman story until Revenge of Cyberman.
Yeah. So it was took a few years to back 7 years or something.
Yeah.
I think it was 1968. This story, I think.
Yeah, in Classic, there are a lot more gaps between Dalek and Cybermen stories.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot more every series in New Who. In Classic, they had a bit of a break more.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can do think for better ideas. Yeah.
And then so we should probably talk about the goodbye, the war games and this.
Yeah, the war games.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's where
that's where they say goodbye to each other and they go to their original timelines.
Yeah, what's interesting is that you see them make various escape attempts. Like you still see, as you see, Jamie's determination that they can get out of this, and gradually that's worn down. And the Doctor's like, "No, there's no getting out of this," and goodbye, Jamie. And it's like, and Jamie's like, "I won't forget you." And the Doctor says, "Don't get into trouble." And he goes, "You're a fine one to talk, Doctor." And then the really tragic thing is, of course, is they're saying, "I won't forget you," but they do forget him because that's what the time they take away all that they've learned. I think they said they will remember their first adventure with you and nothing more. And
yeah, and I that's why I would argue theirs is like, if they were to die, that'd be less tragic. The fact that they live, but they have no beyond that first adventure.
They have no memories at all.
So all that development, and I think for Jamie, the real friendship he had with the Doctor is just taken.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that that's how we first meet the Time Lords.
Yeah.
That they're sort of portrayed in this very harsh, unfeeling, sort of cold way.
Yeah.
And that they'll do that to the Doctor, because they know. I think it'd be pretty obvious just watching them in that adventure that these three are close. So to tear that apart really doesn't put the Time Lords in a good light.
Well, I think it's put that the Time Lords do that because they feel like they can't have future knowledge. They have to be put back in their own time. They can't have future knowledge, and so it's like they're very, very cold and clinical about that, as you say. That's just But I mean, I spoke to Blue Bonnet about it, and she said she felt that it was like that the Time Lords they were doing it to punish him particularly.
I think there's a bit of that. I agree. I think there's a little bit of, obviously, they're doing it to protect the timeline and all of that, but I think it's the way it's done. It feels it's a little bit more personal.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes.
And and he was exiled for the Doctor was exiled for his non-interference. So there was a non-interference policy, and he broke for.
The Time Lords. The
yeah.
Time Lords didn't like to interfere in history. They felt like it was their role to
Yeah.
not get involved and not change the timeline. So they saw the Doctor. He'd broken the rules, basically.
Yeah, but there was. Do we know about the Celestial Intervention Agency? Have you heard of it?
I've heard of it, but not yet. But I know where you're going with this.
Yeah,
I was going to say, two Doctors now makes it a bit awkward. This whole memory issue.
The time between the time that he regenerated into the third body, the time between that and there was other adventures of the second Doctor. They used him for their purpose.
Yeah, and because of this two Doctors, he's with Jamie for some of those.
Yes.
Yeah, that's again a reuniting of Jamie. There are also some adventures that he met Jamie again, and but that's not on the screen. But there are some adventures.
I was going to say
that is also the reason why we can explain why the second Doctor met the sixth Doctor with Jamie together.
Well, I think the theory was meant to be I think the reason was in the Five Doctors, the Doctor meets the phantoms of Jamie and Zoe again, and he says, "You were sent back in time by the Time Lords. You shouldn't remember me." And so the fans are like, "Well, how is it that he's free to because the next thing that happened was he was sent to Earth and regenerated?" But so the theory is, well, does he know that because the Time Lords didn't send him to Earth, and maybe off screen they sent him on various adventures, and this is him in between that time remembering their goodbye. And then of course in the two Doctors we see it doesn't quite make sense that the second Doctor, who never worked for the Time Lords, in this story he is working for the Time Lords.
Yeah. I was gonna say in the two Doctors, I think it's quite clear.
Yeah.
He's not doing this of his own volition at all. He's under some orders. And I think because the way Jamie is written, you can tell this isn't Jamie from the original run he was in.
Oh.
You can tell for me anyway. Maybe this is my fan thing, like making this a thing. But for me, it's almost like Jamie's written as he's been around for longer than his original adventures.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
So it makes me think like almost is the two Doctors saying at some point the Time Lords, or for me it'd be more the Time Lords, basically got Jamie and realised the Doctor works better with a companion, picked Jamie and was like, for a little bit, you're going to actually remember. Yeah.
I think there's a mention of Victoria as well, so maybe Victoria was involved in it as well. Maybe they recruited Victoria again somehow. Because she is mentioned in the two Doctors. They said, I think she was some learning conference or something, or university they'd left behind. But and the two Doctors is quite an interesting one for Jamie. He's definitely he's definitely made up to meet Perry, isn't he?
Perry. Oh yeah, that's also a combination at Perry.
Yes.
Well, here's the thing that I will never understand is Colin Baker's Doctor is notoriously terrible to Perry, but then as soon as he meets Jamie, I think he's quite nice. and actually shows a lot of care towards him. Like when he finds him, like as that wild man sort of version, because he's been in the pipes for years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like you can see he's really like, oh, taken back that it is him.
Yeah.
And he's actually a bit worried. Like for Colin Baker's Doctor, that's the most worried I'd seen him ever for a companion, and it was for Jamie, which I just found a bit weird.
Yeah.
It's like it's not like he's a recent companion for you. That's quite a few regenerations ago.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe it's the whole thing of he thought he'd never see Jamie again, and finally he does. Maybe there's the old affection comes out. Maybe.
But, yes, I think.
I mean, I can't explain why he's so nasty to Perry. That's bad writing, but
No, but you got to give credit to Fraser. Like, considering we were talking about his outfits, they filmed that in Spain, and he's got like a full-blown like proper kilt, not just the skirt bit. He's got like the bit that goes over the shoulder.
Yes.
And I can't help but think, God, you must have been boiling filming most of those scenes.
Yeah.
Was Fraser Hines also in Children in Need special in the 90s, or I don't know.
I don't think so. No.
Sudoku, you know better than me. I've never actually watched Dimensions yet.
I don't think he's in it. He's not. It's Victoria's in it. I don't think Zoe's not in it. Ben and Polly aren't in it. I think Victoria and Susan are the only companions from the past who are in it. From the 60s who are in it. Other than that, it's Liz, Sarah, Mel, Ace, Perry, Tegan, and not Tegan. Nis is in it, and Perry. Nis and Perry are in it. And Ace. Oh, Leela's in it briefly, and so is Romana. No, Jamie wasn't. I don't think any of the. I think the only male companions you see in there are the unit characters. There's Benton and not Benton. No, Mike Yates and the Brigadier. It's all coming back to me now.
Fraser was probably working because he had a very good career after Doctor Who at that point.
Indeed, yeah. I think that's why they couldn't get him to do the 3 Doctors, because he was doing Clash with Emmerdale, and same with why he could only do a short scene in the 5 Doctors as the Phantom.
No, Daniel says no, he's not.
No.
That's a shame. It would have been more motivation for me to watch it.
It's short. It's brief. I'll say that for it.
Okay. By the way, the actor who played Ben Jackson, he is no longer with us.
No.
It was only 56 years old.
Oh, I didn't know he was that young when he died.
Yes, it was. He died in 1998. Michael Craze was only 56. And Polly is still alive. Her name is
Nika Wills.
Nika Willis. She's still alive, and we have Fraser Hines is still alive.
Yeah, I think it was his birthday yesterday or the day before.
Okay.
I think so, yeah.
And Deborah Watling is not alive anymore, I think.
No.
She's already. And we have Zoe Harriet, who plays that is
Wendy Padbury.
Wendy Padbury is still alive.
Oh, she discovered Matt Smith, by the way. She did some time as an agent.
Oh.
Yeah, I remember in 2009, Matt Smith had been announced as the Doctor, and some people were quite skeptical. And I went to this convention in Glasgow where Wendy Padbury was, and she talked about seeing him as an agent, being an agent and seeing him, and she said, "I want to assure you all, Matt Smith has got it. He's got the alien quality of the Doctor. He's going to be a great Doctor."
Okay.
Yeah.
See, but that's so interesting because Matt, for me, you can see he took a lot of inspiration from Troughton.
Yes.
So it's interesting that one of Troughton's companions discovered
it.
it.
Yeah.
That's a bit freaky, actually, when you think about it.
Yes, that's very nice to hear this. Yeah. You can see this is a blueprint.
Yeah.
So she discovered Matt Smith. Perfect. 11th Doctor, the favorite Doctor of Queen Charlotte, I think.
Yes.
Yes. I know. So she's the one, Penny Petbury. We can thank Penny Petbury for her nice work, for her good work in discovering him.
Yeah.
So she's in many cases she is very adds to this show.
Yeah.
For companion, but also for you call it a casting director or something.
Yeah.
There's been a few. I know some of the later companions became agents as well. So there's quite a few companions that ended up doing that job.
Yeah. For example, do you know
Janet
names?
Fielding did.
Janet Fielding, yeah, couldn't think of her name.
I think
Oh
she
yeah,
kind of
the Tegan. She will appear also as Tegan in the new special.
Yeah.
I'm very curious about it. Ace.
I'm more curious about Ace. I'll say
Ace,
that.
I want to see her in the
polite.
leather. I want to see her in the leather jacket. Again.
Oh, we'll see
But I
what
think-
Chibnall has in store.
Oh, I don't know. We
On
must
a-
see it.
on an unspecified date.
90 minutes. Yeah, very curious. I don't know. I think what to I got Tegan. Oh God, Tegan.
Daniel really doesn't like Tegan.
And Edric also. Edric. Edric is revived.
There's quite a few.
And Edric is resurrected from the TARDIS, the power of the regeneration power of the Doctor. Oh yeah, I know it. The 13th Doctor, Jodie Whittaker, is regenerating, and the regenerating power goes to Edric. He became the new companion of Nkuti Katwa, 14th Doctor.
We'll have to wait and see. Well, you two can wait and see. I'm not watching it.
Yeah, you'll hear our reaction. I'll say that. You'll hear our reaction.
You get no sympathy from me.
You heard it all. We will tell you all about it.
But who knows? It might be good.
Yeah, we don't know. Okay, I think we discussed everything of the companions. I think
Yes.
all the background story, all the actors.
Mhm.
Yeah, I hope. I don't know if Jimmy Fraser Hines does the audio still. I think.
He probably does a few companion chronicles. Now I
Yeah.
know that there was an audio. There was a trilogy of stories where he returned and he was reunited with the Sixth Doctor. I don't want to give away spoilers, but it's an interesting twist in there. But he does meet the Doctor again, and it is nice to see them back together. And Zoe's back as well.
Yeah, I think in Big Finish they sort of said to go off the war games that he did go back, and
Yeah.
the memory wipe was there, but like over the years or over time, the memories started to sort of come back. So in a sense, Big Finish have almost fixed his ending to be a little bit like, yeah, he did gradually remember. So that's how they carry on writing stories with Jamie. But also Fraser does a really good Troughton voice because it's not an impression. You can just tell through all the years on set he had almost learned how to be Troughton, and he does a very good second Doctor.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Okay, I think we wrap it up.
Yep.
And then next time we will do the third Doctor, and we have Liz Shaw. Then we have what's her name? Oh, okay,
Joe Grant.
Joe Grant. Then Sarah Jane Smith.
And don't forget the Brigadier.
And the Brigadier.
Mhm.
But yeah, Sarah Jane Smith. There's much to talk about Sarah Jane Smith because she had her own adventures also.
Yes.
So we have a lot of to talk about next time. It's very interesting.
Yeah, and she's also another companion that starts with a doctor and then goes through regeneration as well with a doctor.
Yes, right. She's a witness of yes. What? Yes, he mainly does the companion canonicals. Yeah, that's from Fraser Hines. Yeah, that's right. Companion canonicals. So I want to thank you all for this. Enjoyed it very well, and next time we will see you in the same time in the same place. And I want to say to everyone, have a nice week and enjoy Doctor Who and enjoy life. Bye bye.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, everyone.